Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, all between Fred, my brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great, V. How are you?
I'm totally stoked for this one.
Yes, you got
Yeah, when Fred initially texted me like, "Hey, Russ Ballard," and he probably didn't even finish his text, and I was going, "Yes, yes, we want to speak to him." Absolutely.
Right, because we've got Russ Ballard with us today, and Russ is a living, breathing rock history. His songs have dominated both AM and FM radio for decades. Among the acts who have recorded his songs are Rainbow, Kiss, Ace Frehley, Uriah Heep, Night Ranger, Roger Daltrey, Olivia Newton-John, America, Three Dog Night, and Santana, and that's just to name a few. He was the guitarist and lead singer for Argent and has released 10 solo albums with an 11th on the way, which we're going to talk about. So this interview could actually probably be a mini-series with everything he's accomplished over the past 50 plus years. So we are proud to welcome to Creativity Talking a true icon of music, Russ Ballard.
It's great to be here, Fred and Vince. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
See you too, Russ. We appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule. I know you've got, as I mentioned in the intro, a new album that's scheduled for release in April on our friends at Frontiers. And it's called Songs from the Warehouse, Hits Rewired, and it's a double disc set. And the second disc is you doing just some of your songs. And I saw a quote of yours a while ago that said there's so much you still want to do. And make an acoustic album, a piano album, a blues album, and an album with hits you wrote for others. So is this album off of that bucket list? Because you got on there Since You've Been Gone, Liar, New York Groove, God Gave Rock and Roll to You. Is this off the bucket list of an album you wanted to do?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, for so many years, people have said to me, "Why didn't you record the songs that you've written? Other people have done of yours." You know, well, some of them I've already done because I did the original version of Winning. I had an album out years ago called Winning, and Santana covered that 4 years later. Mine came out in 75. Santana came out, I think, 79. I think on the same album. The next single was Since You've Been Gone, and Rainbow. Head East did that first. Head East did it, and then Rainbow, then Clout, and Brian May did a great version of it. But so I had those out years ago as singles. But I thought it'd be nice to have them all on one album. You know, as people have suggested it before. You know.
Oh, and track after track after track is a banger. I mean, just good, great, good, you know. And you know, as I was going through last night, I took about an hour and I was just going through the songs that you wrote for other people and playing them and playing them and playing them. And my son comes out, he's like, I'm like, "Hey, this is Russ. This is Russ. He wrote New York Groove for Ace, or you know, he wrote it and then Ace recorded it." And he's like, he did he was so blown away. And he's a fan of music. He's 25 years old. Yeah. But he was so blown away the scope of your music.
Yeah, well, I've always so many arts. Yeah, I do. I know I'm sort of, I think they say, have a Catholic taste.
That's funny.
I'm not Catholic by religion, but that's what they say, you know, that, I've always listened to everything, Vince, you know. I've listened to right from when I was born. I can't remember not listening to music. I remember my mother playing all kinds of music. My dad was a drummer, had his own band. My uncles all played. So I was immersed in music, you know, for as long as I can remember. So I've gathered every kind of, I guess, sort of influence right from the go. You know, listening to stuff. I always like good tunes, but I've made some good friends in the business.
And you can tell like what camps you're associated with as you go through your credits. You know, it's like, okay, that guy from there was connected through this guy.
Yeah.
What's cool about you going through your catalog, you know, me and my brother are really tight, and we bonded over music and comedy. So my brother, unfortunately, keep going, everyone, didn't make it. He was one of the 22 veterans that take their lives every day.
Oh, wow.
But your song Since You've Been Gone on the anniversary show. This is what we base the show on. So it's men's mental health through music and fart jokes. But every year on the anniversary, we play Since You've Been Gone as a tribute. So
that's great.
And the first album I ever remember listening to was Olivia Newton-John.
Wow.
Yes. What a great album that was. You wrote a song on that. We had Chris Slade on, who played drums on that, I believe.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And, very, very interesting. And then as I kept going on, boom, first time I went to New York, I had to say, here I am, and in the city with a fistful of dollars. That's the first thing I said when I got out of the cab.
Oh, that's great. I think I got the street names wrong, for the areas, but I didn't know which was which. But
yeah, that's okay. We're from Chicago. It worked for us. But then going on, New York Groove, massive hit for Ace. I mean, that made his solo album the best of the four in a lot of people's opinion.
Yeah.
Then you did another song for Fraley's Comet, and then you did one for Peter Criss, and then God Gave Rock and Roll to You. Not only did you have the awesome opportunity to have them record and put it out, but that's how they capped off their entire career. The last notes weren't theirs, and I find that incredibly honorable.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a strange one when a songwriter's looking for ideas. You get ideas from titles, or you get an idea from a story.
Sure.
My mother used to throw out ideas, but they were never meant to be songs. She used to say, God gave you this, God gave you that, God gave you this. And, years and years later, I thought, I'm going to use that as a title. It'd be great. God gave rock and roll to you, so I used that. But it was great to put in ideas, because it's true, the idea of it ain't easy being a rock and roller, especially if you want to be professional.
Right.
Like if you want to be a singer or play guitar, man, you've got to sweat and kind of stuff. And if you're young, you'll never be old. Music can make your dreams unfold. All that stuff was in my head when I was young, and when I was writing it. So, trying to find these themes is like gold dust,
Well, you've got plenty of that sprinkled everywhere, let me tell you.
That's great to hear. It makes it all worthwhile,
Absolutely. And, like all these memories, I'm just going down on all these memories with my brother and, friends and everything else, and so many good times associated. When you're writing something, first of all, how did you start to write for others? Did you solicit it, or did someone say, hey, can I use that?
I wrote for me, Vince, all the time.
Yeah.
I wrote them all for me. There's only 2 songs I recall that I ever really wrote for anyone else. I was writing tunes at the end of the song. I used to think sometimes, this would suit Olivia Newton-John or whatever. Sometimes I was trying to learn things like, with the Olivia Newton-John thing, I think I've been listening to a Burt Bacharach tune. It's one of those little things that kind of Dionne Warwick kind of idea,
Yeah.
Oh, heartbreaker, if you want to leave, I will make you stay. That kind of idea. Hey, you love me. You refuse. I was trying to learn all those kind of little ideas that they had, So
Sure.
Some were good, some were less good. But that was covered, so that was good.
And Olivia Newton-John, I don't think I've ever heard someone not liking her.
No. She was very.
No.
I got to know her. Not well, but a friend of mine used to went out with her for quite a long time. So we see a bit of her.
So, Russ, not to throw anybody under the bus, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but has anybody ever done one of your songs that you've written that didn't come out the way you wanted it to, or you went, that's not how I wrote it?
Oh.
Yeah, there was one. There was, strangely enough, I've always mentioned this one as well. In that context, people have said to me the same story, the same question. There was one. I did a really good demo of a song called So You Win Again. And I thought it was a really good demo. And I played it I was signed then as a leaving member. After I left Argent, I was signed to
Great band.
Still signed to CBS. Sony, then Sony in London, I think then. And I went to the head of the company and said, you know, I've got a great song. You know, it was the time of like the dance, the disco kind of thing, when you had, but you had R&B, you had Boss Gags, Robert Palmer, you had Hall and Oates, all those kind of people doing black music, you know, which was great. And I thought, that's really up my street. I love that. So I did this one song. I was heavily influenced by that. I went into the studio, did 3 songs and mixed in 3 days. And I played the demo to the head of in London. And he went, that ain't for you. He said, that's really for a black band. You know, that's for a black band. So I thought, if the head of the company doesn't think it's for me, there's no point in pursuing it. You know what I mean? But the Hot Chocolate did it. They did it in less than 10 days. They were in the studio recording it. And they had a number 1. It was number 1 for 3 weeks in England and in all over Europe, actually.
That's and how was that first initial year? Were you like, what? Or first of all, you're
it was.
Oh yeah.
I'd done mine more like kind of up tempo, mine was kind of so you win again, so you win again, here I stand again. It had a groove to it. It's that kind of thing. Mickey Most was the producer. He's kind of slowed it down and made it much more of a love. That kind of thing. And I thought, oh no, they've blown it. They've blown it. They've blown it, you know. But you get so conditioned to well, anything in life, you get conditioned. Sometimes it's better to keep an open mind, you know, and say, hey, this might be the right version. Maybe I'm wrong.
Right. And another really great instance of it not turning out, you know, different or whatever. Since You've Been Gone, you wrote that on piano, but it's known as one of the great riff tunes.
Yeah, I wrote it.
That's really cool that it translated.
Yeah, I wrote most of them on piano. You know, those kind of chords sort of lend themselves to the piano. I always find you've got more scope on piano because, you know, on the guitar you can't reach down there that low and that high, but you can on piano. You can go down another octave, you know, stuff. And it's obviously a bigger instrument, longer strings, and it resonates more. And I find the piano easier to ride on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you start your music education? Was it just, did you learn by yourself or did you go to school? Were you trained?
Well, I sort of had a kind of a talent for it when I was young. I mean, I was even before I knew what I was doing, I was playing the house piano at home and just learning chords and finding learning, seeing what people were doing. That's when I was like 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Mum and Dad sent me to piano lessons. I was playing drums first because my dad was a drummer. So I used to muck around on his snare drum and stuff, which I loved. Yeah. And they sent me to piano lessons when I was 8. I used to follow my brother, who was 3 years older than me, and he used to take me. And I learned theory. I didn't enjoy learning, to be honest. I didn't enjoy that whole thing. I'm glad I went, and I'm glad my mother and father sent me.
Sure.
But I went there from the age of 8 to 12, nearly 13 when I finished. And that's how far I got in my academic, my theory. But then I...
Froze up here.
Cutting out here. Let's see. Give them a few seconds. Hopefully it'll come back. Technology, ladies and gentlemen. But fantastic thing is we're talking to someone thousands of miles away. Let's try to bring him back in here. All right, see if this works. Sorry about the technical issues, Russ. Okay, Russ, I want you to try signing in again. We apologize for that. Could be a satellite issue. Oh, is he there? Let's see here. All righty. Oh, man. Yeah, Russ, sign out and then sign back in, and that should hopefully fix the issue. All righty. Let's see here. Okay. So we'll talk more. We'll talk about Russ Ballard as he signs back in here. Apologies to everybody, but that's technology.
It happens. It's like going to a live show.
Absolutely.
Somebody's guitar amp kicks out or something. So hopefully he'll get back on there in a second because he's had such an incredible career. I mean, he
happened.
There we go. Yeah, technology.
there you are.
Satellite something. You know, all above our pay grades, Russ.
Oh dear. Yeah. So I mean, my mother spent a fortune on me. She spent, you know, mum and dad were incredibly supportive of me, you know, and my brother. But I turned professional when I was 16 as a guitar player. Although I'd written my first tune, which was covered when I was 14, I learned to play sort of instrumentals and things. And the Shadows, who were really big in England at the time, covered one of my tunes.
That's I mean, at that, I can't even imagine at that age and someone, you know, you're watching someone on TV playing your song or hearing it.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, the album, it was on an album and it got to number 8, got number 7. It's called Sound of the Shadows. And I think the very first, it wasn't a wah-wah, but it made a wah sound. It was kind of, what it was a tone control, and it took the signal basically from bottom, from bass to treble, you know, top to bottom, straight, and it sort of went wah, wah. It did that kind of thing. It wasn't a wah wah. It was much more of a tone control.
Yeah.
And I did my demo like that, you know. And Hank actually used it. Hank, the guitar player in the Shadows, used the same thing on his, you know, which was brilliant.
You know, you'd mentioned Boz Scaggs.
Yeah.
He came from Steve Miller Band. Steve Miller Band.
That's right. Yeah.
Came from, you know, Chicago's blues player, taught by Les Paul to play guitar.
Yeah.
A lot of people now, and I've always wondered why more rockers didn't gravitate to blues, because it's just, to me, it's inherent. It just makes sense that a lot of people would just do, you know, record some blues albums.
But it comes from the blues, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Like Slash has a blues album out. Anthony Gomes, he's more harder rock, but I mean blues, but hard rock, and he was on the top 10 for 59 weeks straight. So everyone's going to the blues because there's space there, and everyone's dying for blues music.
You got to remember, Elvis started like that. Elvis was a blues singer.
Yeah.
When Sam Phillips wanted a white guy that could sing like a black guy, you know.
Yeah.
It was blues, you know, and that whole thing. And then the Stones were blues, and every phenomenon, as far as I can see, was influenced. Right. I mean, the Beatles weren't so bluesy, but they had that element, and they followed Chuck Berry, Little Richard, all those black artists, the Motown artists, you know, all those people. They followed all that music.
Yeah, the Motown, I mean, the guys who are recording all that stuff, I mean, oh my goodness, the amount of work that all those players did. And it was, you know, you're talking about 20 guys that recorded all that. That's just
all that stuff, you know, to find that talent in the space. I know Jackson 5 came from Indianapolis, didn't they? They came.
Gary,
Indiana. But the talent that was there when you go through Smokey Robinson, Berry Gordy, right the way through. Yeah. And I used to love the look about, woo wee. That was, who was that? Who was the singer? You're too young to remember these, you guys.
I love Motown though. I'm a huge man.
Look about. It was the guy that did.
I'm just having a heart attack that I got you to sing on the show. That's like making my day.
I'm thinking of Reed Petit.
Yeah. You know, I asked someone this question yesterday. We were talking about Elvis came up. Yeah. And I said, think about it. If they had not made a big deal of not showing Elvis from his hips down, would he be Elvis today? Like,
no, it was a story, wasn't it? It was a story. Yeah. That's the way you get on the TV and the radio and in the newspapers. You've got to have a story, you know. It was a story. And it was sexual.
One moment. Isn't that amazing?
One moment, yeah, and it was called Elvis Pelvis, all these kind of things, you know. I mean, sometimes you think it comes from out there, you know, it comes from the universe, you know, it's meant to
Right.
be.
Yeah, because he was doing a bunch of Jelly Roll songs when he started, right?
Yeah, it was when you think about some of those lyrics to get out of that kitchen, rattle those pots and pans, do that, get out of that kitchen. And it was shake, rattle, and roll. I mean, some of those lyrics are really debated.
What a great,
It was great to listen to, you know. I don't think he knew what he was talking about, but it sounded good.
You know, it always baffled me here. It always seems like England and Europe always seem to have a better appreciation to me of music and the different blendings of it and stuff. Like, for instance, as an American, I'll bring up Jules Holland show.
Yeah.
You know, like you can see the span of all types of artists on there, where here it's all very regimented and this is in, that's out.
Yeah. You know? Do you think it's maybe because it's a smaller country and that, you know, that kind of thing? Maybe it's smaller and it's, I don't know, maybe, I mean, your country is so huge that maybe it just takes longer and, you know, it's more kind of fragmented as, you know, into the states and things. Over here, you get from one end to the other in 5 hours, you know.
Right. Or is it something where, like, even America, we're still a young country and everything's new, so we were still looking for new.
Yeah.
Everything's been there a while and settled in. So, are you more open to the history of the grander vision? You know,
but we had a thing over here, you know, before the rock thing started, and I think you had it in the States. You called it a jug band.
Yeah.
But over here we had skiffle, so everybody picked up a guitar. Everybody, all your friends, you know, 4 guys in your class would, you know, come in with the guitar. So basically, you know, that was it. We had skiffle, and if you couldn't afford drums, you got a washboard with thimbles on your fingers. That kind of stuff. And from there, you know, everybody graduated to Mo Foster wrote a great book. Mo Foster was the bass player for Jeff Beck, the bass player for Phil, you know. And I did a couple of my albums actually. He wrote a book called 14 Watts, and that was the I think it's a Watkins Dominator, which was only 14 watts. That was the power of the thing, you know.
Right.
It was going right the way back to, and the whole book was devoted to, and he spoke to all these musicians. I was one of them. And how did you get your first guitar? How did you get your second guitar? And this kind of stuff, you know. And everybody's in it.
Yeah.
Jimmy Page is in it. Eric's in it. Jeff Beck was in it. Everyone's in this. And it's called 14 Watts. And it had all these stories of how they got their first guitar. It's just amazing. And all the pictures that went with it as well, you know.
Absolutely. You know, I used to take people to and from surgery, so I'd get to know people over time, you know, because it was something they had to do repeatedly throughout the year. And this gentleman that I got one day, and we're talking, 92 years old, and he starts telling me a story. He had a doo-wop band and and you know, they're called the Cool Cats, and they had one hit song. And he's telling me about this gig where he opened up for Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf.
Wow.
Like, I can't even, you know what I mean? Like, such an interesting conversation of the music business.
Oh, yeah.
Back then, and how mobbed up, you know, me being from Chicago, you know. Not that the mob wasn't everywhere, but very interesting, you know.
Yeah, we did a TV with Howlin' Wolf years ago. One of the first TVs when we only had basically 2 TV channels. BBC had one, which BBC One, and Independent Television had another. That was the 2 when you had like 150 TV channels. And one week in '65, I think it was called The Beat Room. It was in black and white, you know, black and white TV, 65, and you had color. But Howlin' Wolf was on it. The Nashville Teens, we were on it. We were on it as the Roulettes with Adam Faith. I was with Adam Faith then, and Muddy Waters was on it.
That's awesome.
It wasn't Muddy Waters, it was Howlin' Wolf.
Yeah.
Howlin' Wolf, and the director came up, and I heard the director say, "Oh, Hello. Oh, you must be howling. Sorry, Mr. Wolf. Sorry, Mr. Wolf.
He was a big dude too.
He was huge, wasn't he? 6'7"?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I live here in a suburb of Chicago, Westmont, where Muddy Waters lived like 2 blocks from here, and I'm a
Wow.
half block away from Muddy Waters Boulevard.
Yeah. How far is Chess Studios from you?
That's downtown, so that's 20 minutes at least, 20,
20
25
minutes.
minutes.
So is that still there, Vince?
Not working, but they have like a museum type. There's a garden, a
Oh
blue
yeah, that would be a
garden.
museum. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing. It's not like Muscle Shoals where you can still go and
Yeah,
record, you know.
It's a shame. It's a shame when they stop, being used. I mean, even Abbey Road is still used. That's becoming like, that's mental. Abbey Road now. You drive past Abbey Road and it's full.
That's cool. Well, everyone wants the history and the
always outside. Yeah.
that grime of the room,
Yeah.
And they haven't changed anything, right? I think they changed the
no,
floor.
the Studio 3, which is not the smallest one. The smallest one is right up the stairs. But Studio 3 is now, I think you'll find that it's being used as an office for Mercuriadis, who manages. Who's the great producer? Produced Bowie, produced Sister Sledge, and all this and all those.
Oh, what's his name? He just produced a couple of songs for my buddy out in the
He's
UK.
producing all the time, but I was chatting to him in Abbey Road. Actually, I was chatting to him up there, but I think his manager was taken over. I think I might be wrong, but it's Studio 3. He walked out of Studio 3, and somebody said, "Yeah, that's his office now," unless they were being sarcastic.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Nile Rodgers.
Nile Rodgers, yes.
Yeah.
Nile Rodgers.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Yeah.
So backtracking a little bit to the Beatles, since we brought them up a couple of times, I know you met them way back in the early parts, right? Of their career.
Yeah. Just as they were happening, really big time,
And you saw them play, right? Obviously, in some of the.
Saw them play a few times.
I mean, did you ever anticipate what they would go on to become? Did you see it, or did you just?
Yeah, I didn't anticipate world domination. To be honest,
Yeah, I think the Beatles showed people the way.
They show people the way. They had so much going for them, Fred.
Yeah.
They had not only the music, they had the humor. They looked great. That was Brian Epstein's influence, I think. But he promoted them very, very well, and they didn't want to go into suits and stuff like that. They said to us, we were in the same room for about 3 hours just chatting. They played the ABC in Yarmouth. We played on the pier. But after it finished, even that this is 1963, July 63. And they walked in. We were already in this room in the hotel, and they burst in. They just come off stage, and there was like 3,000 kids outside. The ABC only held 1,000. And there were 3,000 kids outside. And they said, it was just incredible. They said, we couldn't get into the theater. I said, how did you get in? They said, we took a helicopter and landed on the roof.
That's amazing. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I was chatting to Paul McCartney. He sat next to me, and he said, where can we get some good suits made in London? Get some good suits from London. I said, well, go to our tailor. And our tailor was Dougie Millings, who made their silver suits. From then on, he made all their suits. He was in Hard Day's Night. That was Dougie. And we knew Dougie from 62.
That's awesome. You're the connection for the Beatles suit.
Yeah.
Because people don't know the Beatles were greasers back then. They had greased hair. They had wearing leather jackets when they were playing in Germany. They had white T-shirts.
Yeah, they wanted to be Gene Vincent.
Yeah,
that's what they
Gene
wanted.
Vincent, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in a unique position. There's only a few people like you that I can think off the top of my head. Desmond Child, Jim Peterick, and yourself that have written for all different genres across, not just in a 2-year period over time.
Yeah.
And now, like, what's your opinion now? Like you hear like these people writing songs, they have 12 words in it, and there's 20 writers on the track.
I know, yeah, I know. There's not much money in it if there's 20 riders on it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand
The logic.
Yeah, because if I was one of the first three or the first two principals, I would be like, we don't need the extra. Like,
you're absolutely right. You know, I think you're absolutely right. But I don't know about somebody like Olivia Rodrigo. I don't know who's writing her songs. I think she has something to do with them. They're really, really good. I think really sing really, really well.
yeah,
But I've got a feeling there's only does her brother write with her or something? I think.
Olivia Rodrigo. Not too sure about her.
Yeah, but I mean, her tunes are great. I mean, she uses the old-fashioned tunes in the old-fashioned, but the tracks, like the arrangements, are kind of different. Although you know you can understand what's going on, it's beautiful. You can understand everything. But she got a great voice, you know. And they say the key to a hit is the song and the performance. Don't they? The song and the performance. You've got to have both elements, you know. And I think that's right. And she's a good singer too.
Yeah, and you know, now with like the technology, the great thing about it is everyone can release their music, but the bad thing about it is everyone can release their music. You know?
That is so true.
You have to sift, and so I search for 5-6 hours a week because we react to guitar-based music over genres, and then we interview people as well. But man, okay. So me and Jason, who's the co-host, it was his birthday yesterday, so he's bummed out he couldn't make the interview, but that's him from the Halloween interview. So we met at school. We were trained by Eddie Mashal, who won 5 Grammys with the Eagles.
Wow.
So we were trained with spatial awareness. I don't see that anymore, or not as much for sure. Everything seems to be with a lot of music. All the mix is like a meatloaf, like right here.
Yeah.
There's not.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, for years and years, it was the studio. The studio had an input. The sound of the studio. You know, you mic up the room, and you get a great snare. And stuff. There's none of that now. That's all gone. Whether it's right or wrong, that's gone. But all this stuff comes back again. You know, people will be using stick-on microphones on the walls. You know, in the drum room. And doing that kind of stuff, and using the right mics in the right way. That was an art in itself, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
I always worked on the sort of song and the performance kind of elements, but all these things come around again, don't they? You know.
We were interviewing a young band yesterday, and you know, their first EP. They've got great energy. They look good, the whole nine, and like many other bands, they're all recording in the same room again.
Yeah. Which
I think is the best.
It is, yeah.
If you're not looking at someone, you can't get the vibe of the moment of the, you know what I mean?
It's the chemistry, isn't it, when you're all together?
Yeah, that's a huge part of the recording process.
It's a big part of it, you know. And you realize when you use a lot of use click tracks a lot and whatever, you use that, you realize, and you use loops.
Yeah.
You realize that it sounds great. I mean, they're well recorded and they sound really good. But when you put the bass on and stuff, you listen to it. It doesn't move like you move with the drummer, because you move together when you're playing drum. It's not right on the nail. But
it's not breathing.
There's a groove because the bass player's feeling this groove and the drummers, and you're keying in. You're keying in. It's not a click, but it's something else that's very important, I think.
Now, I play the drums. I cannot play to a click track because it drives me crazy.
Well, Simon Townsend said that to me. Not Simon Townsend. Simon Phillips said that to me. He said the same thing. I tried to get him to. He played on an album of mine, and I said, and Mo as well, playing the bass. And I said, Dave Sachs on the keyboards, and I said, I want to do this because I'd written it with a click. I'd written it with the drum machine.
The Alesis?
The original drum computer that was.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What was his name? The guy, it was his name. I had his name. The guy that invented it. Anyway, I wrote it on that, and it sounded really good, like a dance tune, you know. And I said, can we do this to a click? It was the only song that we did with a click. So I said, oh, I don't want to play it to a click. And then, yeah, he didn't. But it came out really well.
Yeah, I can't do it. It just messes up my mind.
Oh, it's a Linn drum.
Gotcha.
Remember the Linn? Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mr. Theremin. Okay, so you mentioned earlier about playing with like the thimbles and the washboard and everything.
Yeah.
My dad's side of the family is French Canadian, and you know they grew up without TV, and so every time the family got together, there was a piano, there was a fiddle, there were guitars. The Catholic girls were singing. You know, we're all Catholic. Everyone sang, and you know there was, you know, my grandma played mouth harp, and then you know harmonicas were going. Everything's. And when I went to other people's families, like if they had something going on, I'm like, where's the music? Like, where's your?
Yeah.
I thought everyone did that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because my household, like, you know, was just my dad was an entertainer. He was a magician, always looking for background music. So we had all this jazz in the house and all this stuff. And music, you couldn't walk into my house ever and not hear music. And it's weird now. I don't think people have the same affinity for music. And it doesn't, the level that music meant to people then, I think, has changed to today.
Oh, it has to, because you know everybody made their own music. That was what was special, because we never heard it. We never heard much kind of modern music on the radio, on the BBC. It was mainly kind of big bands and classical and stuff. But when when you've got uncles and aunts and your family, everybody plays. I mean, Christmases and time, you know, when we get together, and it used to be magic. I mean, I play lots of piano. And I play all over the American songbook.
Yeah.
All that stuff. Night and day, you are the one. Only you beneath the moon and under the sun. In the silence of my room. I think of you night and day. I do all that stuff. I'm doing it all the time. I love those tunes. Cole Porter. Well, this Irving Berlin. Not Irving Berlin so much, but things like, you know, maybe look at me. I am as hell, you know, all that kind of stuff.
I love the crooners. I love Sinatra. I mean, I came up, you know, Dorsey and just all types of just.
Well, those songs were so good, weren't they? You know, the songs they've you know, stood the test of time, and I guess that is the yardstick.
You know, at this one place I work in, you know, people come in. So I sell marijuana professionally. It's legal. So it's interesting when people come in, like there's music choices and everything, right? And they'll be listening to rap or whatever, and people get agitated in line.
Yeah.
And I'd go up to everyone, you know, if it's a hard day or whatever, everyone's, you know, I'm like, put Motown on. They're like, what? I go, just put Motown on.
Yeah. Yeah.
5 minutes later, you look and everyone's chilled. They're not caring. They're waiting in line, dude. And everyone starts, you know, moving a little bit. And it's just amazing. Like, they don't think like that.
No.
You know, put something on that makes everyone happy. Motown makes everybody happy.
You see, in the UK, it's very, you probably know this, it's very fashion-led.
Yeah.
It's very fashion-led and very ageist too, much more so than Europe, much more so than you go to Spain or you go to Germany.
Right.
Where they're very, you know, they're very up for listening to. If it's good, it's good, you know, and they, which is great. But you know, when you're involved in music, what a gift!
Yeah,
what a gift! You get up every day. Most people, I always think this myself. You know, most people get up doing a job they don't really love. You know, and settling for a job because you've got to pay the bills. But you know, I've done this since I was 16 professionally, and I'm still earning a good living. Not as good as it used to be. But,
sure. And the people that give people a hard time for following their dreams are people who decided not to follow theirs.
Yeah.
Because really, you're compelled to do it. You have no choice, Russ.
No, I think that myself. You know, I could have played football I could play soccer when I was young. I think, but maybe not good enough to be professional.
Right.
You know, you know, I always figured I could play music.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Like I've had so many people over my lifetime. I worked in Hollywood and did all that, then got hurt, worked with disabilities, and then I started writing. People were offended that I was writing. And who am I hurting writing a book? What's wrong with you? You know what I mean? Oh, well, you got to know, you got to put the work in first. Well, what do you mean you don't have a book deal? Well, no one has a book deal until they write the book, unless you're someone huge.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
You know, and people don't understand it's not working for free. It's backing yourself up.
It's backing yourself up. Yeah.
You know, and they don't understand because they don't have confidence in their own.
Yeah.
Like, I'll lean over the edge.
You see, the problem is a big problem, I guess, now is that, you know, you can make it online. So if you go online long enough, you might find your niche.
Right.
I can't do anything, but I might find my niche out there. So, you know, a lot of people are doing that. But
yeah, like this show started out, you know, doing movies and comic books and music and everything, and it more gravitated towards music. So that's where we go. Of course. Why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? Of course, we all know music and we're educated on it, but it's very interesting to like young bands. Do they want to get signed or do they not want to? And I tell people to be very wary right now because you're giving away 100% for 30 grand.
Yeah.
You know, now in today's dollars for a star,
that's right. Yeah. That's
or
right.
$10,000 to record, which I think it's 10 to 20 grand is the budget now for recording, basically, because people have tools.
Yeah, that's a good budget these days.
Yeah. And drums are recorded in the studio. If you can swing it, then everything's done remotely, and then you go to spend your money on the mix. But
yeah.
But what, you know, that I had one guy, he was so excited he got signed by Columbia for 35 grand. I go, you got 5 guys in your band.
Yeah.
Like, what do you sell? Like, you gave away all that and you got to split whatever's left. You just sold everything for $100, dude.
It always went on, Vince, you know, because you go back to, I remember the times I was around, I was professional when the swing in London happened, when all that happened. And you're going to find that Ray Davis, they all gave 50% of their publishing away straight away. They were just delighted that anyone would want their songs, you know. And I think he's still living on 50% of the publishing, like after 55 years, you know.
That's
I think
amazing.
He got it back later, but it's not only him, it's all the others as well. Beatles, look at the Beatles.
Oh, they got royally.
Northern Songs went to Dick James, didn't it? Northern Songs initially went to Dick James. And then ATV, I think, is Paul McCartney's. And I mean, all that. But it's always been there, that kind of thing. But there used to be money. I mean, now, the way to earn money now from a song is to get a sync, as you will know, to get a sync on an ad or in a movie or in some sort of brand. Get an ad, you know, get an ad and you make more now with an ad. You make as much now with a good ad as having 3 hit singles in 1972. You know?
That's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah.
You know, when I used to work on these music videos, you know, back in the day, where Guns N' Roses, Rolling Stones, those guys can afford it.
Yeah.
When I'd see someone coming in, it's their album 1 or sophomore effort, and I'm like, oh my God, how are they going to pay? This is $3 million. Like, what? Yeah. They don't. Oh my God! Like, I would feel horrified for the band because they're gonna be on the hook for
forever.
Yeah, and it's crazy.
No, that is absolutely right.
And now, what do you think about today with people leveraging their catalog? Basically, what I guess from the way Dee Snider explained to me, when they sell your catalog, you're basically forecasting the next 10 years or so, whatever that X number is.
Yeah.
What do you think about people selling their catalog? Do you think that's a smart thing? Do you think that, you know, to each his own?
Yeah, well, I have to own I've sold 50% of mine in this last year.
Okay.
But I see my kids and the family, you know, and I just wanted to give them something with a warm hand.
Sure.
Rather than, you know, because I don't want them to get money, to earn really great money until they get to till 60. They don't. When you're 60, it's nice to have it, but you want it when you're younger, don't you? You know. So
Sure.
so yeah, I'm okay because I can still earn a good living. I still earn a good living on what I have.
Yeah.
But, you know.
But is that basically how it works? They take a chunk of years and you're basically given an advance, or is it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's forever. I mean, once you sell, it just so happens my deal was forever. So 50% goes to the publishing company.
Yeah.
Ad infinitum, basically, you know, but it's still got 50%. I own 50%, which is, you know, so and it's still, I've still got 50% of all those songs, you know.
Right.
And I wrote initially all those songs were 100% mine, you know. So,
yeah.
So it's like I still have good money, you know, because most people have two writers.
Yeah. Just a lot of people are curious, and you hear that come up a lot with people selling their rights.
Yeah. I mean, if it makes sense, I wouldn't have sold it if it didn't make sense, to be honest. But it did make sense. It made sense.
David Bowie was the first one to do. I think he did that in 98, 99. He saw the internet coming, and he sold it for like 60 million or 60 something.
Yeah, we have the same, we have the same lawyer.
Oh, gotcha.
We have the same lawyer, so I more or less know, more or less have an idea.
Yeah.
He did Bowie bonds, didn't he, initially?
Yeah, that's a great.
Bonds, so he sort of mortgaged his, but he got it back after, I think, 18 years.
Yeah.
As you say, he was given a bunch of money, and he got it back 18 years later, basically, you know, with more than enough. But that's what he did. I've heard some horrendous figures, you know, what people have, you know, that's $300,000.
Yeah, Kiss got 300, I think.
Sorry, 30 million. Was it 30 million?
Yeah.
It was 30 million. 300 million.
Yeah.
Was Bob Dylan.
Nice.
It was 300 million. So, I mean, it's good money. It's going to certainly.
Yeah, Neil Young, I think, was 400 million. Yeah, it's crazy what they're getting.
It would last him quite a while, but it's all good, you know. What a gift! I said before, we're so lucky to have this anyway.
Right.
You know, to get to this age, he's done it right from when he was young, and I've been in my way. I've done it all my life as well, and I wake up every day thinking, "Wow, can do that," you know, and go into the studio. You know, you go into the studio, you would know, you go into the studio, I go in almost every day.
Yeah.
Between like sort of 7, 8 o'clock when I go in, I come out at 1 for lunch, and I come out feeling happy because I've been playing music, you know, and sometimes every day you're going to have wonderful moments when you find, oh, that's a great chord sequence. I love it. I can't wait to get back in there, you know.
Right.
I love that snare drum sound.
You know, in the past few years, you know, depression has become more in the forefront.
Yeah.
Being more aware, and a lot of people went through a lot of stuff with whatever happened over the past few years. Everybody, and I tell people when they mention, I say, you know, what you need to do, go home, grab an album, put on the first song, sit there, put your phone in another room, close your eyes, get a drink of coffee, whatever.
That's true.
Listen to the entire album. Flip it over, listen to the second side, and by the time you're done, you'll feel better than you did. You know what I mean? And it's just, I think
you're talking about my new album.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
what I'm saying right now and listen to It's Good to Be Here, because it is good to be here.
Yeah.
But people don't listen to albums like they do, and the liner notes are gone, which was really part of
that's
the
a
whole
shame.
experience,
There was, looking back when on the vinyl thing, you know, and you get the gatefold, and it's got every musician on it. It's got all the thanks, and it's got all the guitars that were used, who sponsored them, and all this kind of stuff. I used to love that, you know. And the studio, it was magic, wasn't it? You know, you could spend another 2 hours just looking at the liner notes.
Oh, yeah. Then when you're listening to an album that you love just like as much as you love the other one, you're like, oh, my God, Eddie Kramer did this too, or whoever it was.
Eddie Kramer, yeah.
You know, you'd be like, oh, and then you'd start connecting. And then if you saw something with Eddie's name on it, you just bought it if you didn't. It's good.
And this generation won't realize the fun of going to a record store and spending 2-3 hours in there, just
Oh, yeah.
going bin after bin and just flipping through them. And
Making, making friends. Oh, they make friends in different ways, but you know.
right.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
mean, that was,
Yeah,
that
Friday
was,
nights at the record store, man. That was great.
yeah,
So,
especially on new release day.
So
yeah,
now we're getting into a new era of holographic performance, and you're one of the few artists where your music is being used in that way. How do you feel about it? Does Kiss have to talk to you about doing that, like what they did and what they're going to do? Because they're using
no. There's none of that. It came from Frontiers Records.
okay.
Frontiers suggested it. Mario Serafino and the guys at Frontiers said, you know, for your past songs that are being released, we thought about maybe using AI.
Okay.
And obviously it's early days because it hasn't really been developed, but it's come out pretty well. You know, I've seen a couple, and I think they're pretty good. You know, I think they're pretty good.
Yeah, some of it freaks me out, but
yeah, New York Groove. I like the way that, and God Gave Rock and Roll to it. They're the two they've done, and I like the way. The only problem with it at all is it's a bit like a game, isn't it? Like a digital game. You see those things, those sort of graphics a lot.
Right, to us.
Yeah.
But to them, it's their entertainment platform. It's totally different to them than what we see.
That's absolutely true. Yeah, I agree.
And it's, you know, it's very interesting. You know, one of my good friends, Ellen, she does a lot of voiceovers for like the number 1, number 2 games of all time. She's she works all the time.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Her fan base is huge, but if they bumped into her in the street, they'd never know her.
No, it's funny, isn't it?
You know, but they all know her voice. If she spoke, they'd be But it's the same kind of thing. I think it looks great. You know, ABBA did it, of course, and you also have another connection with ABBA.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, you know.
I made a real good of the Frida song.
I love that song.
Which Phil played on and he produced, and Mo Foster was on that as well, fun enough. That came out really well, but I'd made a real good demo of that.
Yeah.
And I sort of thought, one day I'm going to do this myself. Obviously, you know, it's when I made that particular song, when I made the demo, what were those reverbs? Lexicon reverbs came out with the gated different rooms, gated reverbs. It's the first time you ever heard that kind of thing, and it would dampen the reverb.
Right.
You put it on a short reverb, and it would sound like I'm going to go.
Right. Yeah, almost like a backwards snare.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. It was so thrilling. And when I did the demo, I was about to go home, and the engineer, Nick Kinsey, said to me, he said, Russ, listen, so I've got this new reverb. And he said, look, listen to this gate. And I said, that sounds amazing, you know. I picked up my guitar, and he plugged it in, and I just banged the guitar, and wow, it sounded so exciting. And it was so exciting that I took the thing home. I just played these chords and went home, and I wrote the song. I wrote the song that night, went in the studio the next day with him. And that was, I Know There's Something Going On. And that whole thing was so thrilling to me that it inspired that song.
So I was in construction for years, Russ, and I could drive by the areas and see a building and go, I built that. Every time you turn a radio on, go into a grocery store, go to a sporting event, and a song comes on, you probably sit there and go, I wrote that. Because, I mean, you've wrote a laundry list of songs, and every time you got to hear one, you got to say, I wrote that.
Actually, my friend, I don't hear them so much, but my friends hear them and tell me. You know, my friends, I'm having some extension done in this house, you know, and the builders in there heard since you've been gone this morning. heard I Surrender yesterday and all this stuff. They've got all the rock stations on, you know, so it's brilliant.
And just a quick question about your songwriting process, because your songs encompass such a wide variety of styles: pop, disco, rock and roll, soft rock. So when you write a song, do you have an idea of what style it'll be, or does it just come naturally?
No, I don't. You know, that's another strange one. You know, sometimes titles inspire me, or a story, as I said before, a story will inspire, you know, and sometimes a word like a title can inspire what the feel should be. You know, when you write a song called Liar, it's not going to be a love song. You know, it's probably going to be straight away. Liar suggests something tough, something, you know, put something in with the song I wrote for Argent, which Three Dog Night did. And it was the element of surprise. I came up with the element of surprise, the Hitchcock theory, you know. Straight away, I was thinking of, ain't that what you said? Ain't that what you said? Ain't that what you said? Liar! Liar! And that was the idea. So you lull everyone into this small sense of security.
Oh my God, I'm so glad that happened just then.
But you know what I'm saying? You know, when you find these little elements that can be in there, you know. I always believed in the element of surprise. You know, that's one thing, you know.
Yeah.
If you can find it in a lyric or find it in a tune or whatever, find an element where the song goes from here to there, you know. I didn't expect that, you know. To find
give them what they want, and even though if they don't know it yet,
they're still going to get it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Yeah. Groove, when you first, you know, because I'm a huge Ace fan, how did that song come about originally?
Well, my brother, who was a musician, he used to play functions, do a lot of functions, and he said to me about, that was 1975.
Yeah.
He had done a function somewhere in a steel mill club, and he said to me, he said, Russ, I heard these kids yesterday. They were on before us. He said they were 16, and he said they were brilliant, you know, for 16-year-old kids. It so happened, but I learned later that they were Status Quo fans. They love boogie, you know, love boogies and stuff. But I heard them. I went up to their house to hear them. They lived in a real rough part of Tottenham, you know, which is, I don't know the equivalent of, I don't know where, but I drove up there and they were all set up. Mums and dads were there and all that. And I walked in there and actually played Hold Your Head Up as I walked in from dan, 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 dan. And they were playing these songs, they were playing stuff. And I said, well, you are brilliant. I'll get some time in the studio. And the singer looked like $1 million. And I went into the studio. All I had in my head was a title, New York Groove.
Yeah.
I had that title. And I got that title because I'd done a Roger Daltrey album, produced it and written some songs on it. And I did his first album. Roger said to me, do you want to produce an album for me? Fancy producing an album? I said, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we finished the album. We cut the album in London. And everybody was saying, it's quieter than you can get at Sterling Sound in New York, Bob Ludwig. So I got on the plane, went to New York, and on the plane, I was thinking, New York, I'm back in the New York groove. And I had that in my brain, I'm back in the New York groove. Because I hadn't been there for a couple of years.
Okay.
And went, landed, stayed there. Bob Ludwig did obviously mastered the thing. We listened to it, sounded great. That's the one we used. But I always kept that in my brain. And I thought, you know, if I could use a bow diddly gatch, that idea, you know, and took the band into the studio. All I had in my head, I had a Super Vamper harp in my guitar case, and it was in E. So it played, I think it was, the key was A, but it played in E. And I told the band, I said, right, you know, just listen to these. They're all set up, and I was saying E. And then I was going, do it, da 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 A da 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 B da 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 A da 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 A da 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 E da 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 da. So I was just going. Here I was doing. Been a year since I was here on the street. I'm just passing my time away. To the left and to the right. Town and stone grows to the sky and it's out of sight. Just writing out the lyrics. And this is how it happened. Got to the middle. I didn't know where am I going to go now? I need something to set up the chorus. I need something. And I did, here I am again in the city with the fish in the door. So baby, you better believe I'm back. Back in the New York groove. That's what I used on their version. But their version took less than 2 hours from start to finish because it was a demo.
Yeah.
And, we did it and it sounded great. Arista heard it, loved them, and it got to number 7. Funnily enough, I think Aces got to number 7 in Billboard as well. Funnily enough. So it was meant to be 7.
Such a great song, man.
I guess
one of my favorites of all time.
It was almost the first rap, wasn't it? Here I am again in the city. With $50.
Yeah, it was almost spoken word. It was a lot spoken word.
Yeah.
But
So I putz around with songwriting. I'm not, I just like to write lyrics here and there. And whenever I hear something in the street or where I'm at, I go, "Oh, that's a good idea," and I'll write it down. Potential.
Yeah.
Because your mind's always got to be working, but do you have an on-off switch where maybe when you're out to dinner, you just go, "I don't even want to think about songwriting today," and just let it go? Or does everything that somebody says, you go, "Ooh, there's an idea," and you pencil it down?
No, I do. I often say that to people. I often say, that's a good title. Oh, yeah, that's a nice lyric, In fact, I wrote some today. I wrote some and I heard somebody say something. I haven't got my phone with me, so I couldn't tell you what it is. But I did do one this morning, yeah, when I heard on the radio.
We had a performer on last year. He used to sing for Accept for a while. So he was talking and we were talking. And he goes, "Oh," he's like, "You talking?" He goes, "You talking song titles?" I said, "Well, I wrote songs for a long time and I switched, And so he's like, "Okay, I'll let you know. I got 3."
Oh, that's funny.
I'm like, that's totally cool, but that's how it is, though. I mean, I always have a notebook.
Yeah.
I can't do the phone thing. I need to physically write it.
Yeah. Well, you can get a rocket book now, can't you? The rocket book. You can use it on the same pad over and over again, which I have. Yeah, which is good. It's a funny thing about lyrics as well, because songwriting is a craft.
Yeah.
It is a craft. You can learn, you could suss things out, and this does work. And we are, as human organisms, we are very similar. We are very similar. And so, if it affects, I always believe if it affects me, if it's going to probably affect the others. If it makes me feel really excited, others will probably get medium excited, but at least they might get excited, So I think, as a songwriter, you can trust your feelings, I think, trust your feelings. If you see something really good in it.
And I can guarantee you every person in the world has a song that resonates to them, that means something to them.
Oh, absolutely.
That they know where they were, or if you hear it, you go, "Oh."
Yeah.
I mean, every person has one, maybe more, but I know everybody's got at least that one song that you'll stop in your tracks and just go, right?
Fred,
And how many of them out there are yours?
Yeah. You see, it's part of you. The thing is, everything, like an apple, you eat an apple, it becomes part of you. You're part of the apple as well. You eat a banana, you're part of the banana. Banana's part of you, basically. That is it. So you thrive on all this stuff that's on this planet is part of us.
Yeah.
Music, the same. Music's just the same. And now I go back, when it gets to summer, I always think of Dream Lover, where are you? With a love, Bobby Darin, all so true. With a hand I can hold, stay near as I grow old, because I want every summer I think about that, because it writes and Eddie Cochran's Summertime Blues.
Yeah.
It's still within me. It's still one of my favorite songs. It's not gone from me.
When I was 12, the song "See You in September" by The Happenings came out. I don't know if you remember that one. I just fell in love with that song when I was like 12 or 13, and To this day, and Johnny Angel by Shelley Fabares. Those are two songs that
Yeah, I remember Johnny
when
Angel.
I was 12 or 13, just for some reason, are my
Yeah.
songs.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
Wanderer by Dion. That's one of mine.
that was
You know,
great.
I got to hang
Yeah,
out with him for a little bit in
yeah.
Florida when I went to college there.
Oh, that
And
was
Dion lived with his dad. So we got to be friends with Dion and hung out a little bit. Wow. What? I
you
mean,
know, Vince, I wrote with a guy. You would know this. You would know because you're talking my language there. He phoned me and he said to me, Russ, I'd love to write with you. I was living in London.
mhm.
When I was a kid, you know, used to get a record and it had the names of the writers under the title.
Yeah.
Emerson Schumann, Liebestoller, Carole King, Goffin King, and all this kind of Bacharach David. This guy chatting to me was Mort Schumann. Do you remember Mort Schumann?
I know the name for sure.
Well, you were talking about Dion DiMucci.
Yes.
Mort co-wrote with Doc Pomus. He wrote, each time I have a quarrel, it almost breaks my heart because I am so afraid. So I wrote 4 songs with him for his album.
That's awesome.
It's going back 25. But you know, I loved the guy. I didn't realize he was very ill when I was writing with him. He wrote Save the Last Dance for Me. Or he wrote,
What a fantastic song.
You can dance any dance with the guy who gives you he wrote Viva Las Vegas for Elvis. He wrote Latest Flame for Elvis. He wrote Feel So Bad for Elvis. He wrote all the. I said to Elvis in my house when we were writing, having coffee, and I said to him, how many songs did you write for Elvis? More? He said, about 30. I said, about 30. About 30. I said, what was he like? He said, I don't know. I never met him.
That's hilarious. I worked for Michael Jackson for a while, and I never met him either.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's brilliant. Yeah.
But Russ, thank you so much, man. Soundtrack.
And I got to tell you real quick before you go, Russ, how cool this was, because we had Jim Peterick on last year, and he had his guitar with him, and he sang Eye of the Tiger and Heavy Metal, boom, boom. And then with you singing today, what a great experience.
Even
all the
before
singing you were doing.
Song New York Groove, which I'm gonna have, I'll be out for the next 3 days. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks, guys. It's been great. It's great being with enthusiasts, you know.
Absolutely, man. Music
Thank you,
is a
Russ.
beautiful
We really
thing.
appreciate it.
That's
really do.
brilliant. Thank you so much.
And thank you for sharing good vibes across the planet for your entire life. Keep going.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
And
best of luck with the new album coming out.
Yep.
Songs from the Warehouse, Hits Rewired.
Yeah. Songs
It's
from
due out April on Frontiers. So everybody go out, purchase the album, purchase the CD. Are you touring at all, Russ, or no?
Yeah, touring. I've got a tour in Europe in a month's time, starting in Germany. We're doing 3 weeks in Germany, playing, and that's a great place for me. So it's going to be. I've got a great band. I've got a fabulous band. I'm not on the record, but I've got a great band.
Do you play Argent when you're out?
Sorry?
Do you play an Argent song when you're out?
Yeah, we play. We used to do Hold Your Head Up. Whether we're going to do it this time, I don't know.
That's such a great song.
Yeah, we do God Gave Rock and Roll to You. We also do It's Only Money. Do you remember It's Only Money? We play that one. We do that parts 1 and 2. We do that. We start off with that.
It's going to be great.
Fred, great to meet you both. And
thank you so much, Russ.
Thank you so much. And it's been my pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Take care. Thanks for everything.
Thank you.
Like Russ says, everybody, hold your head up.
Hold your head up.